Alrighty, folks. One of the things I love to do on Sunday is bring you new faces with new stories. And this one you are going to love. We have a young man, Jason, who has been on his real estate investing journey for a while, but there are some specifics that can't be missed. Jason, thank you for being here. Why don't you give us kind of your background on yourself, just kind of a quick resume, and we'll get into your story.
All right. I like the way you said young man, by the way. I'm not young, but
Respect.
I appreciate that. No, again, my name's Jason, and live in the Pacific Northwest, and we decided to read Dave Ramsey's book in 1996 or seven or something like that. It was on my shelf for several years before I even picked it up, and I was a young, dumb college student, and just newly married, and read this book while I was on working one day in the library. Probably shouldn't have been doing that, but read it, and I thought, okay, this is pretty good stuff. And I was blessed to have some parents who really kind of poured into me in that regard with investing and things like that. But it never really was mine until I read that book, and then the rest is history. We started living by Dave Ramsey's rules, and then we kind of advanced probably in the early 2000s into read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure you've heard of it, from Robert Kiyosaki, and that just changed the game. I'm in education, been in education for 28 years, and started teaching a class on Ramsey and Kiyosaki. So it was financial literacy in the private school system.
Wow.
And we just compared the two throughout the entire, semester. And then the next semester we would hold Shark Tanks and things like that. So we just had a lot of fun in that class. And that just really kind of made it real for me. Hey, why don't I start doing some of this stuff? And stayed in education, but we just saved every penny. My first job, I made $16,000 a year, and I had a master's degree.
Wow.
That's private education for you back then. And then in 2008, we didn't even know there was a recession going on. And we found this lady who needed to sell a duplex, and then my real estate journey began at that point.
That's amazing. Let's kind of peel back the onion a little bit, because I believe Dave Ramsey's teachings are amazing and the right option for people to start for like 95% of the people, right? I think a lot of us live above debt too much. I think there's a lot to love in what Dave Ramsey teaches. I will admit to early in my journey of kind of being repulsed by some of his real estate thoughts. But as I've matured, as I've understood people in general, I give Dave Ramsey the world. I've been lucky enough to hear him speak. And I just think there's a lot there for most people. Don't you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you can't really go wrong with his baby steps, and you
Yeah.
can go wrong in real estate, as you know. And
Yes,
so
you can.
the risk is fitting for the reward. And in my mind, there's less risk when you follow Ramsey's baby steps, but it's very low risk, and so it will get you there, and I think it'll get you there over time. In real estate, I think the similar is true, but there's a lot more risk, and so because of the higher risk, you have the opportunity for as you know, a lot more reward as well. And I love the challenge of real estate, and I still do some of Ramsey's stuff. I still help people with that, people who ask.
Sure.
Because, like you said, the last advice I want to give someone is bankruptcy. And
yeah, you and me both. Yeah.
And if someone goes into real estate, that's a possibility if you go too quickly, or you make really stupid decisions.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, we're going to see some people probably over the next 12 to 18 months really suffer those losses. People who jumped into Airbnb too soon, too fast, too much. People who got into syndications too fast, too much. There's a lot of pain coming. There's a lot of deals that should not have been done that got done. And part of the process is cleaning it up and foreclosure, short sale, and unfortunately bankruptcies will be on the rise, is my opinion. I actually want to talk about that next step. So you're Dave Ramsey, you're in it, you're growing. Then you pick up that purple book that changed my life also. It's not a how-to book, it's a mindset book. So talk about, because for someone who is, I'm just imagining baby steps, Dave Ramsey, let's go. And then you see this book that plants different seeds. Did it make you uncomfortable? Did it make you question things? How was that internal talk when you read the purple book after being, Ramsey for, I don't know, 5 years or whatever it was?
It didn't really scare me. It actually kind of made me feel like I'm missing out on something.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm reading through this book and I'm thinking, man, everybody else is doing this except for me. When in reality, hardly anybody does it.
That's
So
true.
it kind of sparked me into thinking, we could probably do this. And then, I realized that, how am I going to do this? We were single income family. My wife has a elementary degree, but we made the decision for her to stay at home and have the blessings of that. And so we were a single income family thinking, how can we do these things? And when I picked up Kiyosaki's book, I realized, man, this is a mindset. And if we could just change our mindsets and focus on assets, and we really never really had a problem with liabilities, but if we just focus on this idea of assets, then, the rest can be potential history. And so it all started with a little lawn business, and that lawn business helped us, live, and then created an opportunity for us to get into real estate.
That's amazing. So again, I love that purple book. For me, it was a mindset shift because I didn't even know it was possible, right? Nobody in my family or my circle at the time was anything but a W-2 employee. And, I was 30 at the time, or 31. And I was like, I'm going to retire in 65. I mean, that was my big grand vision for my future. So the other thing I love about your story, again, single income family, never made a lot of money, and you still found ways to make moves in real estate. That's really the crux of, I think, your story that more and more people need to hear. I think people need to realize that even if you don't make multiple six figures, you can still get in this journey. So why don't we talk about that first duplex that sounds like was your first opening to this thing? What was it? Tell the story a little bit.
Yeah. So, like I said, Ramsey, I think he instilled some of that discipline in us, and we
Mhm.
were relatively disciplined people anyway. We're educators, so we're relatively disciplined anyway. But he just had that knack of, hey, do it with gazelle-like intensity is what he calls it, and so we did that, and we just saved every penny, and because we knew we needed a down payment.
Yep.
We were able to buy our own house, a primary house, and then continued to save. And then, like I said, in 2008, we met this lady, and this lady said, "Hey, I'm looking to sell my." She was, you could tell she was finished. She lost several of her kids and her spouse over the years, and she was elderly and just was ready to be done with it. So she felt that we were doing her a favor,
Yeah.
and we thought she was doing us a favor. So I hate to use the word disrespectful offer with her because she was just such a sweet lady. But we just said, look, here's what we have, and here's what we can do as a down payment. What do you think? I think we got in. It was in Nashville for 150,000 for a duplex, which wasn't cheap back then in
Mm.
2008. And we realized that she was probably experiencing some things in the recession, and we ended up closing on that thing in 2009. And 1 month later, there's a triplex right next to it that I found out she owned that as well. And so
Mm.
we decided to use some of the leverage on the duplex to purchase the triplex. You could do that back then. You can't do
Yeah.
that so much now. And so we ended up with 5 units, and then we had a little storage thing back behind one of those properties. So we ended up with probably 6 cash flow
Mm.
units, and broke. So we kind of risked all of our savings on that, and that's a story in and of itself of how we got through that situation. That was probably not a very smart move looking back on it, but again, we just kind of scratched and clawed and ate
Mm,
beans and rice and drank water and slowly but surely realized, hey, this is, if we're going to retire one day, this is probably what it's going to do,
mm.
what we're going to have to do in order to retire.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I got the story right. You're, as you said in the opening, you're in the Pacific Northwest now. Were you always in the Pacific Northwest? Hence, this Nashville purchase was out of state, or at the time were you in Nashville?
Yeah, I was in Nashville. So all of
Okay,
the properties, most of the properties we own today are in the Midwest and the East Coast, and we don't really own cash flowing properties in the Midwest. We are in some syndicates with some people, but we don't really own
got it.
properties. Limited partnerships with people
Right. Right.
here in the
Okay.
Northwest. So yeah, that
Okay.
was, we lived in Nashville, and so we bought those places. It was about a mile and a half from the school, and so I would go there after school just to check on it.
Got
I'm
it.
not a handyman. I'm not a handyman at all, so I don't know what I was going to do when I did see something broken.
That's broken.
Uh, yeah,
I can do that. I can point at it.
yeah, but those were the early days, and I could paint and stuff like that. But for the most part, we've always had property managers. We've always had people do work for us because I in private education, I was just too busy
Right.
with the school world to worry about my real estate world.
Yeah, it makes total sense to me. The other thing that really sounds like that we should not be remiss is it sounds like you had a partner, your wife, on board from day one, way back when you started Dave Ramsey. Then you get the Purple Book. Sounds like she's been with you this whole time. She was with you at the duplex and the triplex. She was willing to eat beans and rice and drink water with you as you kind of struggled through this low cash portion. Just talk about how important it is to have your significant other on board.
Well, I don't think you can do it um, without someone on board with you. But in my situation, I had the best someone, which was my wife, and so she was hugely instrumental in this happening. And I was the one that was probably more the entrepreneurial type. And she was the one that was, she had the sound mind and made sure that, hey, are we sure about this? But it was interesting throughout the years, the last, couple decades, we had our moments where hey, we should sell these things.
Mm,
and, and she would, we were audited in 10 or 11. I can't remember. That was a nightmare. And because again, we were young and dumb, we didn't know what we were doing. And
mm.
so we were audited, and I said, hey, we should probably sell these things. And she nearly got mad at me. She said, we're not selling these things. This is what we're going to do. And then
Right.
we've had moments where I would do that with her. And so we just kind of worked together in that. And now you couldn't pry any of our properties from us. We just
I
work
love that.
together and talk through it all the time.
Yeah. So again, we're up to 5 units. Got a little storage in the back. Let's call it 6. But wow, it's really hard to believe sometimes that 2018 or 2008's like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Where
no.
where does the journey go from those 6 units? Where does it go next?
Well, we like you kind of preach in your book. We just kind of were holding on, and we were waiting. Okay, well, 10 years. I didn't read
Mm,
your book back then. Obviously, it wasn't written, but we waited, and we just let the market do what the market does, and we would steadily increase rents.
mhm.
Stuff would break. I mean, we literally didn't have the money to fix stuff. That was our problem, is we just didn't
Right.
have any reserves for our real estate. And so stuff would break, and we would find ways to figure it out. And, you know, uh, we would start little side businesses that didn't make a lot of money, but made enough to support our real estate. And, still in school, my passion is education. I like real estate, but my passion is education. So I had no desire to get out of education, and so we stuck with it. And then in 2000 and it was probably 2018 or 19, some realtor, a former student of mine, who gave me a lot of problems, by the way, in school, but she contacts me through Messenger. I won't say her name, but she's the best in Nashville, and she said, "Hey, Jason, have you thought about selling those places in Nashville?" And I said, "No, I'm never selling them." And she
Right.
said, "No, I think you should think about it." And so we ended up doing a 1031 with those places and just really scaling up in 2019. When I say scaling up, I mean doubling our units in 2019
Nice.
with an apartment complex in Indiana. So that really was the game changer, is the patience and the steady income, steady cash flow, and then all of a sudden I get that call. And
Wow.
I get, as you know, you get calls on regularly, but this one was from a former student, so I answered it, and I realized that, wow, this is something, and it was enough cash to, really do some damage on a pretty decent complex in a nice area of Indianapolis. So we
Yeah.
were really excited about that and kind of went that route.
No, that again, it's so amazing that our stories are so similar, just different numbers and whatnot. The big, like you, we had two big moves. The first big move is we got started and we just held on to good deals. And then at some point, for you it was a phone call. For me, it was an event I paid to go to. It was like, okay, time to move these. Right, we've got a bunch of appreciation. The market. In my case, there was a guy calling for a California crash. I wanted no part of that, and we 1031 8 houses in 9 months, and
Mm,
that was the first. That is where our wealth changed. That's where we
yeah,
went from being trickles of money to streams of money. So yeah,
yeah.
again, it's a 1031 exchange is so powerful, especially if you let time happen and you make the moves, years later, because you just get that equity build up, and it's so powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So now you're sitting in an apartment building. The first 5 units are gone. Where do we go from this? Where do we go from there?
Well, COVID, so
Yeah. Oh, that little
we
thing.
and I was in education in the Pacific Northwest, and if you know anything about the Pacific
Woo.
Northwest, COVID was quite different where we live. And
Yeah.
so, but we still just played with real estate. My wife and I drink coffee for about 2.5 hours every Saturday morning. And all we
Nice.
do is just kind of hang out and talk real estate
Nice.
and talk about stuff we've seen in our buy boxes, and, all the stuff that we've learned over the years, and we've learned through your book. And so we found more duplexes in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Don't ask me how we found these markets. I really don't know, honestly. It's more of a it's we just feel we were blessed with seeing the right things at the right time, and when we made some offers, we've made lots of offers, as you probably are aware, and we don't get them, but what we get them every once in a while. And so we picked up two
Exactly.
more duplexes probably in 20 and 21. And then we just kind of said, okay, well, this is probably good for us for now. We had, I don't know how many units that is, but we had a decent amount of units at that point to where we thought, okay, well, this is good. We're satisfied. We're not interested in, we don't really care about the money side of things. Obviously, it's important, but that's really wasn't our goal. Our goal was, hey, we've created our nest egg so I can stay in education, so my wife can be what she wants to be,
Yeah.
and we can live comfortably. But then from there we started realizing that, wow, when you have a few properties, it seems like you meet really cool people, and really great people, and that's when it really started taking a turn for the better, is when we started meeting some people that knew a whole lot more than I did, and we just kind of listened to them, and got into some stuff where it's like, wow, this is crazy how we're in this. We started where we started, and where we ended up is like, this is kind of nuts how we've been blessed to meet the right people, to be in the right spots at the right time, and get really good deals. And so
Yeah.
that was all the way up to about 2021 with Spartanburg, and from there we've had a few more deals since, but that kind of brought us from one step to the next step of, okay, now we're in a position to meet some really cool people.
Nice, nice. Well, again, I think your story is amazing because, again, it's really what I want for most people, right? Most people out there, they don't make lots of money. Maybe they're in their passion like yourself, but as long as you get started and you're able to hold on, right? To your earlier point, you can go bankrupt, you can lose money, it can go bad, but as long as you stay in the game the wealth formula is easy. You're in it for 10 years. I like your chances. You do it for more than 10 years. Your chances are amazing. And then there's just this unlock at some point, right? You call it meeting cool people. But let's not be confused. You are cool people too, right? You
Oh
had been
yeah,
doing it for 15 years. You have an apartment building, you have duplexes. So don't get it twisted like they're doing you a favor. You're value add as well. So it's really cool when cool people get together. The world just kind of opens up and opportunities
yeah,
just look different.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, can you email my staff and tell them I'm cool?
Yeah,
Because they,
absolutely. I'll do that
because
for
they
you. I
don't
got
know
it on
that. They don't
video.
know that.
Yeah, I'll get you the video. You can make it your ringtone.
Very good, very good. Yeah, when we were able to meet some of these folks, we would be included in just some real conservative asset based apartment complexes where
Yeah.
we were one of a few people, not a lot, a few people that are now these places are in Arizona, and you're familiar with that market more than I
Oh
am,
yeah.
but Scottsdale area, just beautiful areas, and then in the state of Washington and Oregon. So that to me is something that it's almost like when you learn to do something at first, it's just kind of hard, and then it just comes natural, and you don't even know how or
Yeah.
why it's so natural. It's because you've been in the work now for so long, and it's just part of who you are as a person. And so that led to where we really began to wake up was we were meeting with our financial advisor about 3 years ago, my wife and I, and she said, well, when are you guys going to retire? And we just
Mm.
kind of looked at each other and we said, retire?
What is
What
that?
what are you talking about? And that's when it hit us, when she said, yeah, you guys can retire, when you want to. And that's
Mm.
really when it hit us of, wait a minute here, this is really working.
Ah,
But I'm telling you, the early years, 2008 to 2013, we didn't think we'd ever be able to retire. We
yeah.
thought, man, we're gonna remain broke and die broke, and
Yeah.
but so we're just very thankful that we held on to those things, and just kind of rose to the occasion when it came to challenges. That's really our story, is being able to stick with it when there were challenges.
I love that. I love that. We've only got a couple of more minutes here, but I want to go back to you running a class because I just love teaching high school kids specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk more about the Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki course, or like are they? Well, like I guess I'll ask this: which of the two guys kind of resonates with high school students?
Well, both. I
Okay.
mean, when you show some charts of, hey, if you start investing now, this is what will happen when you're 45 or 55 or 65. Kids get excited about that,
Okay.
and then when you bring them into the room, and you've got the tickers up on the screen, not a bigger screen than what you see even behind me, and there's some class fake money that we've
Yeah.
invested in the market, and we've talked about some of that, and so you can get kids excited. The danger with kids, though, as well, really with anyone, but you can see it easier with kids, is they get excited and they want to go right away to the quick
Yeah.
money. They
I've been
want to
there. I know
gamble,
what
and
that's like.
they want to do all that stuff. So we really kind of tempered Kiyosaki with Ramsey, and we kind of
Okay.
sparked Ramsey with Kiyosaki, and kind of made them. They had to read both books throughout. They had to read three books throughout the course, and the cash
Nice.
flow quadrant as well. And kids seem to really enjoy that class. And
Oh
in
yeah.
COVID, we had to go online with that, and I thought, man, this is that was a disaster, trying to excite kids about finances during COVID from their
I can
screens.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Well, do me a favor. What does the future hold for you, Jason, and your wife going forward? Is there a retirement date in the future, or are you just so excited by what you do every day? You're still in the boat of, I cannot imagine retiring, Michael. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, our future is going to be similar. I love education. I won't get out of that. And now it's a situation where I have a little bit more flexibility. So there's a little bit more flexibility with some of the challenges with real estate. But we plan on doing a home or two a year,
Okay.
and
I like it.
not because we just because we want to now take care of the next generation and give. We want to give, and that's something that's really important to us. I think that was Ramsey's baby step number 7, and
Yeah, it was.
live like no one else, so you can give like no one else. I mean, that we love that stuff, and so I think that is going to continue our journey and be excited about that, and maybe even help other people, learn some of the things that of what we did wrong, and so they can get to where we are more quickly. That
Yeah.
would be a fun thing to see.
Well, I got to tell you, I don't know if you've thought about it. You're in education, so maybe you have, but I think you've got to write a book. That's what I think. I think you've got to
Oh
write a
wow!
book about this journey, right?
If you promise you'll write the forward, I'll think about it.
Done. I will write the forward for that book.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've done that. I've done that once before for someone. I'll happily write the forward. Your story needs to be told. And I think you just do it like one rental at a time. When I think about what is one rental at a time, and it was a bestseller, the first 60% is just you looking back. How'd we start? How'd we go? Just the journey. And then the last 40% is kind of the lessons. I think you do the same thing. I think you would have a blast revisiting, the 20 years you've been doing it, the ups and the downs, and the beans and rice. And I think you would have a blast. And then that would be a gift for the future, because more people need to understand that you can earn financial freedom making 50 grand a year. There's too many people that go, you got to make $1 million or you can't do it. That's crap.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do it on 50 grand a year. So you got to write a book. I'll write the forward.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for your time. This was fun.
Absolutely, Jason. Well, if somebody wanted to follow you, do you have a social media following or anything, or are you in school,
I mean,
or what are we doing?
I have Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. So, I mean, people could probably. I'm fine to put it on this if that's what if you.
Yeah,
feel
if you want to. Well, what's your Instagram handle?
Jason Tyndall.
Okay.
And Tyndall is Tindol.
Okay.
And you could just find it if you just type that in, and then Facebook is the same thing, and you'll find our stuff. We don't put a lot of real estate stuff on there, so you would see the boring Jason. but every once in a while we'll put some of our real estate stuff on there as well.
Well, folks, do me a favor. Go to Instagram, find Jason, send him a note saying thank you for coming on ORAT and sharing his story, because this is the stuff we need to celebrate. And Jason, you're amazing. Take care, and don't forget, start drafting that book.
Hey, sounds good. I'll look you up in a couple of years to write that forward.
You got it, buddy. Take care.